Hi everyone, welcome back to Luvcoding's tutorials. Today we're still working on our JavaScript tutorial and we're working on strings. We're actually going to be looking at how to create a little or a basic project or a simple project using some existing methods in JavaScript. JavaScript strings has some methods. With this method, you can achieve a whole lot. So today we're going to look at how you can use this method to achieve a, um, a reasonable code in JavaScript. So let's take an example. Yeah, this is a code I've already written. I'm going to run it now, then I will explain to you how it works. Before we do that, I want to introduce a little bit of an error so that you can see how to use the console in case your program is not working. So let me just put something like this, for instance. Then we save it and then we run it. Okay, it actually run because this is the HTML. Let's see whether if we enter anything, whether it's going to run. It's going to give us nothing is running. So right click on it and click on inspect. Inspect to bring us here. And then if there's any error, you will see a red error sign here. Then you go to console and then you see what actually is wrong. If you click on 3 on here, 3 errors, to tell number of errors, then to tell you what is the problem. The problem is at this particular line, you have a token that is unexpected. So I will go now, remove the token and do it again. So that is how to check for errors. If your program is not running, the first thing you would like to do is to right click on your program and right click on your program and select inspect. It will bring you to this environment. Then you click on console, then you check on errors. If there are no errors, you won't see anyone here. But if there are errors, it's going to show you the errors here. So now that we've seen our error, we've gone back and we've corrected it. We'll save it again. Make sure you save it before you run. Then we'll run it again. So please enter your question here. So let me ask a simple question. What is your name? Answer. My name is Johnson. So how does this work? So what happens that you on the HTML part, you're going to create a text box and a button which calls a function for you. So let's go back to the JavaScript code and see how it works. So here we have the text box where you type your name. Here we have the button. When we click the button, it's going to run this function, my function one. Okay, my function one. Oh, there are other functions actually. So it's going to run my function one. So this is my function. Well, I'm supposed to run my function first before going to this, but anyway, we'll go back to that. So this is my function one. What does my function one do? It takes a variable text, another variable, the output. So basically, I've hard coded it to just return my name is Johnson. I've already made it so it's not going to give you any other answer. So if you enter a different question, different from what is your name, it's going to give you something different. Let's see. Let's put something else. Then we'll say answer. It's not going to give you anything. Let's see if there's any error, although there might not be an error because it's not running properly. So there might not be an error. Yeah, because nothing is actually wrong with it. Just that I've not given it the right input. So because I coded it to just accept only what. So this is a situation where you're writing a project and you want the code to behave differently each time the user enters a different questions. Then in the reasoning, your reasoning is based on the type of question. In this case, we're using the switch case, um, what I call it now, switch case method to find the type of question the user have entered. For instance, in the question, I wrote, what is your name? So in the switch case, I'm going to be changing the values and then running a given function. Each time the value changes, I run a different function. So a case what means when the user enters a question that starts with what, run function 2. Let's say function 2. Function 2 takes 3 values. These are called parameters. It takes 3 values, val, o1, o2. So what is val, o1, o2? You have to supply these values when you're calling that function. So I'm calling the function here. When is the function going to run? When the user enters a value or a question starting with what? If the question starts with what, then it runs this function. The function takes 3 inputs. The first input, the first parameter is the input. What is the input? It must be defined before you put it in the function so that I can call the function appropriately by applying these parameters. The first parameter, the input, has been defined here. The input is Johnson. The output one, I don't understand your question. That is what happens when you put a question different from the one we put before. Then the third one is the output. The output is, it gets the value of your text box. The output, the input, okay, the input is this. Oh, I'm not seeing clearly. The input is this. The input takes the value of your text box, whatever question entered on your text box. That is what the input do. Then what is O? O is that input, you turn it to lowercase, then you split it by the space and take the first item. That is what this line is doing. Let O, it can be any letter, it can be any variable. Let O, the input, let O be the input to lowercase. You convert the input to lowercase, you split it. The splitting method, let me see how many minutes, 7 minutes, okay. The splitting method separates strings into individual items in an array. So this splitting method have separated your question, what is your name? They are now different elements in an array. If you want to see that, let's see what it looks like. We'll now use the console.log to see the value of O. Let's run it. So now this has run properly. My name is Johnson, according to what I've asked it to do. There are different kind of questions that could be asked, different kind of answers. So, but I asked the console to log something for me, and that is the array version of my input. So go to console, go to messages to see the array version of my input. So this is what it has become. So it has now become 4 different elements in your array. Element in the index 0 is what? Element in the index 1 is. Element in the index 2 is your, and element in the index 3 is name. So when I say, what is the name of this array? What do they call the array? O. So when I say O0, it means the item in the 0 index of O. The name of this array is O. Console.log O. O is the value of your input converted to lowercase and splitted into an array. You select the first one. That first one is what? The first one is what? So you now take the value what and then compare it. So that is the input. That is the value that's going to be here. What? Then the output one. I don't understand. That's if need be to call this. If there is no need to call this, it calls Johnson. So let's see how it's going to use what I don't understand and Johnson. Let's say it's going to use it to answer our question. So we'll go to function 2. So function 2, let value be val or split. This val is the input. Remember, there are 3 parameters. The input, I don't understand, and Johnson. So let's see what it's going to do with these three parameters. It will take the val and split it again. It's not splitting the first element what. It will split the first element into an array and probably select the first one if needed. Let's see what will happen next. Console.log value. So it will give you the value. Then val1 is O2. This value here, you call it variable L. This value here becomes variable L. So variable L takes the value this one. Variable L2 takes the value this one. So if value 1, so you see why we have to split value. If you split value, what does that mean? You have splitted what? Again, you have splitted what into an array. So it gives you what? That is value. You have splitted what into an array. So it's going to be individual items. That is the value. So let's see what happens when we split the value. So at this point, value 1, because you have split, we have splitted the value of what, then we take the first item, which is W, and then we say value 1. Oh, not value 1 should be WH to lowercase equals is. Oh, let's see, what is the val? What is the input val? Val is the input, and the input is what you've entered. Split the array, taking number 1. Okay. So that's what you have entered. So value 1 is what you have entered. So when we split it, we take a value 1, this value number 1, the item in number 1 in position index 1, which is we'll convert to lowercase, and then take the item is in index value 2, which is what is your, convert to lowercase, take the one in item 3, which is name, convert to lowercase, and then compare it. If this is equal to this, you compare it. The value in index 1, is it the same thing as X? The value in index 2, is it the same thing as your? The value in index 3, is it the same thing as your to lowercase is value to, and there are 3 ands. Value 3, okay, is value 3 to lowercase. If all this meets your criteria, then document get element, you get a paragraph called demo, the paragraph called demo. Get this paragraph, and then you display the answer here. I don't know if you get it. We can run through it again. So how it works. So we start from here. So you take an output value. This one is going to output for you. This is output 1, just any name. This is the input. The input is the text dot value. That text box dot value. That means what the person has entered is the value. So you now check if the input dot starts with what. The input is this one. The input. So you now check this input. If it starts with what, then value will be. They now declare another variable called value. Value will be the input dot split. You separate it into individual items. You separate what into individual items. So you now the input. Oh, sorry, the input. If the input first criteria to check if the input starts with what. Yes, it starts with what? Okay, now that it starts with what do you do to the input? You take the same input and split it into individual items. It now becomes what is your name. You now check the item in element 1 in position 1, is it equal to is? The item in position 2, is it equal to your? The item in position 3, is it equal to your name? Is it equal to name? If all this is true, then display my name is plus space plus the output. What is the output? Johnson. So you display my name is Johnson on the paragraph. So, or if it's not true, then you display the output 1, I think. Output 1. Yeah, you display the output 1, which says, I do not understand your question. Output 1. So this is basically how it works. So this is how it works. I think there's another one here that we're supposed to look at. Let's run function 1. I think it's simpler than the other one. So function 1 take the same value. Okay, function 1 does not use the switch case. The function does not use the switch case statement. So just directly it takes just the same thing, but the difference is it doesn't use the switch case to check the kind of question you're answering, whether it's a what question, how question. Look at this one, the switch case. Is it a what question? Is it a house? Is it a house question? How question? You do something. If it's a when question, you do something. Whatever question it is, do something. So in this case, we only ran a what question. So the switch case helps us to take different value from the input and then run different outputs. So the switch value is very useful for large programs to reduce the number of times you're going to write. If this is this, do this. If this is this, do this. If this is this, it's going to take you a long time to write all the if statements. But if you're going to use the switch case, it's just summarize. It's like reduce the length of your code by switching the values that you need to test at all time. So the same thing basically with function 1. The only difference is that the function 1 just answers what question, but the function my function, sorry, just answers what question. But my function 1 answers all kinds of questions based on what the user have entered. So if the user enters a value, it first of all takes the first value, which is what, and then when it takes the first value, it goes to function 2 and splits the first value. If it splits the first value, it split the remaining part of the statement. If it splits it, to take the value of 1 and cross-check if it's the same thing as is, take the value in position 2, check if it is your value in position 3, check, just like that. After cross-checking and everything is right, then it can now display whatever you have asked it to display. Okay, that's how many minutes gone? 17 minutes. We're going to stop here. I'm going to take another example, still on string, working with strings. We'll look at how we can reduce a lengthy program and make it shorter. Let's stop here now. Thank you.